AI Reviews, back with another one. How does it end? Jumanji, the next level. All right, let's get into this one. Okay, they get sucked into a game. Blah, 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 they win. The end. Go home. Done. You're welcome. No. Okay, so this time around, okay, the surprises I wanted to talk about on here are there's kind of a lot. Okay, so number one, the character Spencer is in Aquafina's body because he's going through some like withdrawal and like loner syndrome, and he's not feeling like himself. I mean, he was in Dr. Bravestone's body, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and then he went back to being his normal self, which he didn't feel was, adequate enough, basically, right? So he was like down, sneaky, sly. So when he got sucked into the game, he basically came back as a thief. Yeah. So he doesn't show up. The friends try to go find him, and that's when they all get sucked into the game. And as you saw from the trailers, everyone gets split off. Now, the other part of it is the guy who plays the Hound from Game of Thrones is the villain in this one. Great, great, great role for him. Oh, I'm just so upset though that he doesn't have as much screen time as I would have wanted him to have. The other caveat here on this as well, I don't know if they show this in the trailers. I think they might though. So as you all know, Fridge is in the body of Black Jack at first. So basically the black guy is into the fat white guy body, which he says right off the bat. He's like, I'm not even black this time. Dang it. Each one of them has one new skill they didn't have before, or one weakness they may not have had before, based off of who's in whose body of the character, right, in the avatar. Bethany comes back with Alex's character as a black horse. Very interesting. Black stallion. So that part is interesting. There's also this like water. It looks like there's like eels swimming around in it or some type of animal that's gonna shock them or something. But it's just like this green light that's going through the water. And they show you later on that when they get the Jumanji berry, that when Jack Black's character and Karen Gillian's character touch, they basically swap bodies. So this water can swap bodies. Would you think they would use that mechanic like right away to kind of fix the scenario? Because the Spencer character being the thief doesn't really work all that well. He's afraid to sneak around. He is like trying to break into a door and he's like, oh, I think I'm gonna get caught. And when I get nervous, I'm getting nervous thinking about getting caught. So I'm starting to sweat. He's like, I'm a terrible thief. So they kind of hint that it would be better if Danny DeVito's character was in that body. So you think somewhere around there they would have went ahead and used that. But no, they don't use that mechanic until way later on in the film to kind of help them end the movie. So at the end of the movie, like the last 30 minutes or so, maybe 40 minutes or so, they do swap bodies and everyone's where they should be, quote unquote. Which makes more sense to them, bodies that they're used to being in. So that part makes the movie a little bit more enjoyable, in my personal opinion. While it was funny to see Dwayne and Kevin Hart portray Danny Glover and Danny DeVito, there are some moments where their characters kind of add a little bit of frustration to some of the scenes and kind of slow it down just a little bit. Some parts intentionally, and then other parts I don't think unintentionally. But it happens. It just kind of slows the pace of the film down just a little bit, and some of the action isn't quite as enjoyable if they were in their original roles from the beginning. At the same time, though, that does also bring some parts of the film forward that you wouldn't have had if they were in the original body. So it's kind of give and take, but I think in my personal opinion, it's a little bit more take than give. So anyways, there's this crazy scene where they Jack Black's character and Kevin Hart, they basically infiltrate the villain's lair towards the end, and they're posing as these other villains from Jumanji. They're gonna team up with him by marrying off their sister to the Hound's character, which is hilarious, right? Obviously, that's not who they are, so they get kind of found out towards the end, but it doesn't seem like they are, but they do. They get found out. Anyways, so the way this film ends is they do end up getting it's a new stone this time around, not the Jaguar stone. It's called the Falcon stone this time. I'm like, how many magical stones are in Jumanji? As many as there needs to be. That's the answer. So basically, they get the stone back. Aquafina later on has Danny DeVito in that body, and The Rock's character ends up beating him using the Jumanji berry. Apparently, the villain's weakness is Jumanji berries. As he slaps it on his side, his little thing pops up and it shows. So this is interesting to me that they technically are adding a new element. Basically, that if you tap your left chest, it shows their avatar's strengths and weaknesses, but also for the villain. So that's kind of interesting to me that they added that element. Possible sequel, maybe. Anyways, they shout out Jumanji and everything goes back to normal more or less. And Danny Glover's character technically has a terminal illness. They don't say specifically what it is, but he decides to live his life in Jumanji because he becomes the Black Horse. Oddly enough, he can freaking fly. He has wings. It's awesome. It's a great scene. Good fun. At the end of the film, though, there is a credit scene, kind of like after credit scene, that shows the guy who was supposed to show up way earlier in the film and fix their heater finally does, and he enjoys retro video games. So he touches the half-broken Jumanji console, and we're treated with a rushing herd of ostriches in their small town, and kind of, I don't know, kind of lays a foundation for a potential third version of these characters. And I don't even know if you can call it another sequel or like a reboot of the first version, because it's technically not. It's basically just going to be like the third version of these characters on like how it would be in the real world, right? They won't be in their avatars. It'll just be really them against animals in our world. If they do a third version of this. If nothing has been said yet, I'm going to safely assume that it's going to depend on whether or not this one does as well as the last one from 2017. Since it's more or less the same film with a few characters shuffled, I think it will do well. I think it might warrant a third film, but let's be honest. I mean, Hollywood makes a ton of films and sequels that they probably never should. They'll probably make a third one of these, I should say. So it's very likely. So yeah, so that's how it ends. Hope everyone loved the review. Thank you for commenting and liking the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.